Welcome, music friends. Today I have my mother, Allison Peterson, with me to talk about beginning your own music studio. So, my mom actually started me playing violin at the age of 2.5, which was very young from what you told me. Yes, and then in high school, you actually taught me how to begin my own studio and teaching. So, I wanted to find out more about how you actually started teaching. What was it like?
I actually started right after college. I had gotten married to my husband, Stacy, and I wanted to bring in some extra income. And so I thought teaching would be helpful in that way. I was still performing. I played in the Wichita Symphony, but it was good for me to be teaching as well. So that's how when I actually started my studio.
Which is when a lot of people want to start kind of that first job
Right.
out of school.
So
Yes.
that was what my training was partly about, was teaching music.
Exactly. I also kind of wanted to ask you, how do you start your students when they first begin? Like, what's this first song that they play? What can they kind of expect from their first lesson?
Right. The first song that I use is Twinkle Twinkle Little Star and Variations. I teach the Suzuki method, and that is the first song that we use to teach, especially itty bitties. But
Right.
I even use it when I start 8-year-olds or 12-year-olds.
They're still familiar with the tune.
You're learning the basic technique of how to bow on the string, and you don't even start with the left hand. We start with bowing, and that takes a little bit of time. And these variations teach a lot of skill. There are like 4 or 5 variations that I begin with, and that establishes good bow habits.
Yes. What's another of the songs that they learn at the beginning? As Twinkle, at least for my students, often takes a half a year, especially for my young ones. Are there any other songs or books that you use during those kind of early stages for students?
Yes, I have some fun ones. Pizzicato is when you pluck the string, and I have one for the littlest ones called Mr. Frosty.
Oh, yes. That's my students' favorite song.
Right.
At least my little ones.
The little ones. And you just pizzicato on the string, and that uses this technique.
Right, so I think, what is it? Where they pluck twice on the E string, twice on the A, twice on the D, once on G, and come back.
Right.
Yes.
And I use fun words with that song, but I change it for the seasons, too. If they start
So
in
Mr.
the
Frosty
fall.
in January is perfect.
You're right. But I
Yes.
changed that up. And then there's another sweet little song, Saw, See, Seesaw, teaches them how to change strings.
Right, the levels for your bow arm.
Yeah.
That's kind of fun.
Mm-hmm.
Another question I had was, how do you actually set up recitals and performing opportunities for your studio? I know that's a question a lot of music teachers have, and I get mixed responses from students who've come to me from previous studios as to whether or not they had very many recitals or if they just mostly practiced on their own. So how do you kind of approach that subject?
Well, I think recitals are really important, or performing opportunities, because why practice and do all this work if you don't get to share with other people? And it's great for the students to learn how to do stand up in front of a crowd.
Yes,
And
very
get
hard
rid
for
of the
them
nerves.
sometimes.
And so I try to do at least 3 recitals a year. Sometimes it's just 2. But on top of that would be taking them to a care home or some other kind of performing opportunity. But I do set up 3, and I have older students as well that are in contests. And so they really do need to play their pieces out before they go before a judge. And it helps get rid of those initial jitters that they might have with that piece. And the best place sometimes for that is a care home, because those people love the children no matter what, and no matter how well they play or not. And so I do make sure we do that.
The senior homes usually seem very welcoming, and they're excited to have, especially the little ones,
Yes.
but even some of the older students who are playing advanced literature as well. Now, I know you do a lot of home recitals too.
We do.
And so how did you kind of get started doing recitals in your own home in addition to outside performing venues?
Well, that came from my background with my mother. Actually, she is a pianist and accordionist, and she would have recitals in the home. And we had kind of this platform stage area with a piano and then a lowered area for the guests to sit, the audience. And so that is really where I began when I was growing up with my mother.